He's a little bit country. He's a little bit rock and roll. He's a little bit polka, death metal, abstract jazz, and German industrial techno. He's Scott Leffler. He's not allowed near the stereo at parties.
Welcome back for episode 6 of Here's the Thing. I'm your host. My name's Scott Leffler. Today we've got Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz. We got Drew McGrath on sports, and we have Karma Queen, all 5 members in studio. Mark and I are going to talk about politics, obviously, and just what's going on in Erie County, plus a little bit of personal stuff that you might find funny. I found funny. I'm not sure if Mark found funny. But Drew McGrath and I, we're going to talk about the Bills. We're going to talk a lot about baseball. The Niagara Falls Americans kicked off their season last week, and Drew and I went to a game, and then Drew went to another game. And actually, tomorrow he's going to another game, and then Thursday he's going to another game. Drew is our official sports liaison. I don't know what you want to call him, but Drew and I talk sports on a weekly basis, and this week is no different. And then Karma Queen. So Monday night, 5 members of Karma Queen piled into the All West New York studio, and we just talked about whatever. Obviously a lot of music, but also some other stuff. Anyway, before we get to that, I want to talk about, well, it's really what everybody's talking about. And you're probably on one side or the other of this. If you're listening to this show, you're probably on the side that I'm on, to be completely honest with you. And if you're not, that's okay too. We love dissenting opinion. And if you disagree with my opinion about this or anything else, feel free to, let me know via X. You can find me at Scott Leffler. Or via Facebook, you can find me at All West New York News. Or via BlueSky or all sorts of other things. But mostly at Scott Leffler. Anyway, the California protests. Now, a lot of people are upset about what's going on in California for one reason or another. Half the country is upset that people in California are protesting, and in their opinion, not backed by fact, of course, the city of Los Angeles is in shambles and everything is on fire. The other side is upset that the protesters in Los Angeles are being treated as though they were, petty criminals and abused, harassed, shot with rubber bullets. I saw a thing today on social media. A news reporter was there, reporting from the scene, talking about what was going on, talking about the fact that the troops were there, or not the troops, the police, sorry. There are troops, but that's another issue. Talking about the fact that the police were there on horseback and shooting people with rubber bullets. Now, while she is giving this police report, she gets shot in the leg with a rubber bullet. And obviously, that's problematic. And you think, you know what? Shit like that happens. It's not a good thing, but, sometimes, an errant bullet might bounce off something or whatever and hit her in the leg. Now, again, it is a rubber bullet, which, by the way, is actually a metal bullet encased in rubber. So it still hurts like hell and can cause significant damage depending upon how close you get shot from. But from the angle that we were at, you couldn't see how close she had gotten shot from. You couldn't tell where it came from. But there was another angle that showed the police officer in question aim at her and fire. Now, this was not an errant bullet. This was a member of the police force or whatever, occupying army that was there. I believe it was LAPD, purposely aiming a weapon at a member of the press and pulling the trigger. Now, if you watch this video, and it's available on pretty much any social media you want to check, if you watch this video, there is no doubt, none whatsoever, that this was done on purpose. Anybody watching it who wants to say that somehow it was an accident is full of shit. And frankly, I find that half the country right now is full of shit. Because we've got people saying that, Los Angeles is completely on fire and there's burning cars at every intersection. These are the same people that made the same claims about, Oregon a few years ago or Detroit or whatever. They always seem to claim that the city is in shambles, and if there's protesters, they're actually rioters and looters and et cetera. Now, of course, they're calling them insurrectionists, which I find, really, really cute. Now, this is the same crowd, by the way, that said that the people on January 6th who were insurrectioning at the United States Capitol were, friendly tourists on a tour, peaceful protesters. But we saw the video. That's the thing that drives me nuts, is that there is video proof, and this isn't doctored, footage. I watched this live on January 6th of people beating police officers and breaking into the Capitol building. This isn't something that was, made up afterwards. A lot of people are going to say, oh, well, it was the FBI and blah, blah, blah. And Jesus, you people with your conspiracy theories is something else. But what's going on in Los Angeles, as far as I'm concerned, is probably just the next step in an ever-escalating step of instances of Americans versus the government. Now, you might say that they're not Americans, they're all illegals. Or they're not Americans, they're liberals, because there's this, notion that liberals are not American. Now, I'm liberal on a lot of things. I've mentioned before that I'm not a registered Democrat, but I do believe a lot of the stuff that the Democratic Party believes. I believe that we should be nice to each other. It sounds crazy, but I do believe that. I believe that we should take care of the weakest among us. I believe that it is our duty as a society to make sure that society as a whole, and not just the billionaires with rockets, actually thrive. And we have the means to do that. So I do agree with the Democratic Party on that particular thing. I also agree with the Democratic Party that government under Republicans, as of late at least, the past two Republican presidents, which is the same person, by the way, I do believe that the government under Donald Trump has just been atrocious, just absolutely atrocious. So he's sending Marines to Los Angeles, California, but they have no orders, they have no place to stay, they have no water, they have no blankets, they have nothing. So basically he sent troops to say that he sent troops, but they're just hanging out on floors of what look like warehouses, waiting to find out what it is they're supposed to do. No supplies, no nothing. This is very typical of not just Trump, but in my opinion, the Republican Party as a whole, because they seem to act like they love the military, but then when it comes time for them to actually show the military respect, they don't. Remember, this is the same guy that called, John McCain a loser for getting caught. This is the same guy that called troops suckers for being killed or for going to war in the first place. This is the same guy who got several deferments to prevent him from serving in Vietnam because he had, plantar fasciitis or whatever. But he is Mr. Military. And the thing that drives me the most nuts about this is the sheer number of military members and veterans who still support him, who see how horrible he is to them and still support him. And that's the thing that I cannot comprehend. So I personally would like everything in California to work itself out peacefully. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to boil over. I think this is going to continue to boil. And I think that what we're going to see is, it's going to move to other cities. I think that we're going to see huge protests in Chicago and New York and D.C. and, any other quote-unquote Democratic cities. Now, obviously, most cities are run by Democrats, and most cities are populated by people who are registered Democrats because that just tends to be how it works. When you get a whole bunch of people together, they figure out empathy. But whatever. Anyway, and then, of course, we've got, just in a few days, this Saturday, the 14th of June, there's going to be the Flag Day Parade for Donald Trump's birthday. And there are protests planned for almost every city in America on Saturday the 14th. So I am inclined to think that between now and then, things are just going to get ugly. I'm kind of scared about it, but at the same time, I feel like it's almost inevitable. Now, a few years ago, there was a talk about a national divorce, and basically, it was discussion of a civil war. Is that where we're headed? I certainly hope not. But what do I know? I'm just a guy living in Niagara County, New York, with a podcast. Maybe I know a lot. Probably not. But I certainly have opinions. And if you have yours, I'd love to hear it. Hit me up on X, formerly Twitter. Hit me up on BlueSky. I'm on Threads. I'm on Instagram. We've got our YouTube channel. We've got the whole shebang. All right, we're going to have Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz coming up on the other side of this music break. Then Drew McGrath, and we'll close things out with Karma Queen. I'm Scott Leffler. You're listening to Here's the Thing. This is All Western New York Radio. The Niagara Falls Americans are off to a great start to their second season at Sale Magley Stadium. With nearly 24 home games left throughout June and July, there's plenty of opportunity to catch the action. Why not see them all? Season tickets start at just $99 and are available now at NiagaraFallsAmericans.com.
Sometimes I feel like I'm an old oak tree, just so bound by earth, Lord, gravity with my grounded feet, just so very heavy that I just can't reach the sun. Sometimes I see me as a sharp-edged stone. I was still born from mountains on shed below to be born by wind and fight up by snow. Such a cold, lonely one. Ooh, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no hand that could hold me down. My home ain't the ground. Ooh, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no road that could keep me bound. Ain't no hand who could hold me down. Sometimes it seems like I'm a cloud-bound town built of man-made steel and a human power place to carry on. Stand for years by hours, but can never own the sky. Ooh, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no hand that could hold me down. My home ain't the ground. Ooh, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no road that could keep me bound. Ain't no hand who could hold me down. Ain't no hand, ain't no. Gonna rise up in the morning. Gonna rise up. Can't hold me down. Gonna rise up in the morning. Gonna rise up. Can't hold me down. Shout it. Gonna rise up in the morning. Gonna rise up. Can't hold me down. Gonna rise up in the morning. Gonna rise up. Can't hold me down. What I feel it just comes and goes. Summer fire, winter snow, but knowledge knows deeper truth that goes and goes and goes. Will despite my will to plan my feet on something firm, but I can't feel it skin out, see it bleed on me, cracks the fruit and keep me down. My home is the ground. Ooh, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no hand that could hold me down. My home ain't the ground. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no hand that could hold me down. Oh, my home ain't the ground. Oh, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna fly. Ain't no road that could keep me down. Ain't no hand who could hold me down. Ain't no hand in Thank you.
Scott Leffler is a professional talk show host in a controlled environment. Please do not attempt to have opinions at home.
Joining us by phone, Erie County Executive. I almost said Erie County Comptroller. Joining us by phone, Erie County Executive Mark Polenkars. Mark, thanks for coming. I think it's been so long since we've actually talked to each other that you might have been Erie County Comptroller last time I interviewed you.
It's quite possible, and it happens often. I'll be at an event, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we got our county controller here," and then the person realizes and goes, "Oh, well, that was a few years ago."
Yeah.
But it's good to be here.
Now, you were comptroller for 6 years. You've been executive now for, 12, with 3 more to go, or 4 more, something like? Anyway.
I am in my 14th year, so 13 years as county executive with basically 2.5 left.
And you have announced that you are not running for re-election as executive. President next? Maybe governor?
Well, let's put it this way. For now, I'm not running for county executive. What happens? We're working on a few things and keep an open mind. Let's put it this way. In this business, things change daily, so you never know what's going to be the next result. But this is my 4th term as executive. As you know, this is my 20th year in county government. I'm having fun finishing up the work, the projects like the Bill Stadium and ErieNet and other things, but it's time to move on, and so I'll give someone else another opportunity. It's not that I don't feel like if I ran I would win again. I'm not worried about that. It's more of, I'm one of those people who never wants to feel stale.
Supreme Allied
when that could be, you never know. But when I got elected to my 3rd term, I thought that was going to be it. I figured 12 years, that'll be it. I'll finish the stadium. We'll get ErieNet done. We'll get all these other projects, Little Erie, in a good spot. But I also didn't realize at that point we would be dealing with COVID for 2 years.
Right.
And then the top shooting, and then the blizzard. So everything I wanted to accomplish in my 3rd term just got pushed into this 4th term. So this is it as it pertains to county executive.
Speaking of COVID, I got to be very open and upfront here. My wife loves you primarily because of your COVID response and your daily updates, and I think your guitar playing might have had something to do with it too, although that was not my favorite part.
Yeah, either people liked the guitar playing and singing or hated it. There was no in between. It's not that much different than politics. Either they like it or they don't.
Right.
But it was a crazy period. And when it came to trying to kind of just relax and release when I got home after very long days in the office, in which everyone else was at home, but we were here working 14-hour days, I'd pick up the guitar and start playing, and it just became something where somebody said, "Hey, why don't you record a song?" And I did, and who knows? The next thing you know, it kind of exploded. But I had fun with it, and occasionally I still pick up the guitar. Don't put many songs up anymore, but I will every now and then. But more importantly, it's just another thing that when you got a job that's very, not just time consuming, but very intense, you need to have those outlets, and that was a good outlet during what was a terrible period.
Am I correct in remembering that you're a Beatles fan?
I am. I'm a Beatles fan. I'm definitely a fan of 90s Brit rock. I grew up on new wave, but I'll listen to pretty much anything. So I will run the gamut when it comes to songs. My father was a big Johnny Cash fan, so I was a Johnny Cash fan. And when I did a couple of the songs for friends, I recorded some Johnny Cash stuff too. So I listen to pretty much anything. And keep an open mind, but yeah, I grew up early on as a Beatles fan. Which, if you were born in the late '60s, your either parents or other family members were big Beatles fans, so it just automatically morphed into being a Beatles fan, just like the rest of my fellow cousins and family members from that age.
All Western New York Radio celebrated its 19th birthday back in April, so we're now in our 20th year of playing exclusively local music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, aside from when I'm doing this podcast, of course, or when Think So Joe is doing his. But the Western New York community has a very, in my opinion, vibrant music scene. Are there any bands, local bands specifically? And if not, that's okay. I know you're a busy guy, but are there any local bands that you see that, so-and-so is playing at this place, I got to go catch that? Or does your job preclude you from doing that?
It's tough now. I mean, I used to do that years ago, especially when I was in my 20s and 30s. But it's really difficult because I'm usually going to events in the evening. And so if somebody's like going on at 9 o'clock, by then I'm just trying to get home and sleep and relax after a busy day. So I can't say I really get out and see any of the local bands, but you're right. We do have a very vibrant music scene locally. We've had some issues lately with some of the clubs. I was very glad to see Mohawk Place be purchased so that it's still going to be a good facility to see live music, especially for up-and-coming bands that are touring nationally. So we got a pretty cool little music scene here that based on a community our size is probably better than we should have. But we're like that in a lot of other areas. We're like that with arts and cultural institutions. We have arts and cultural institutions that we should not have based on the size of our community, but we do because of the how big Buffalo and Erie County were at the turn of the 20th century. And as a result, we still have those arts and cultural institutions, and we have a very vibrant music scene. And it's good because you want to have a vibrant city. You don't want to have one that's boring. It's the kind of thing that brings people here and creates a great quality of life. I'm proud that we have it here.
Speaking of bringing people here, and this is actually all going to wrap up into a much bigger topic. I saw a thing the other day, and it was on, I don't know, probably social media of some sort, talking about the fact that dome or no dome, Buffalo's never going to get a Super Bowl, and that totally makes sense. And we'll talk about the new stadium. But one of the points that was made in this clip was that the reason Buffalo can't get a Super Bowl is because we only have X number of hotel rooms. And I feel like it was 4,000. That number sticks in my head. And I feel like that's wrong. I feel like we have a lot more hotel rooms than that. Any idea how many... I feel like we have a much bigger capacity for tourism than 4,000 hotel rooms. Do you have this figure off the top of your head? And if you don't, I totally understand.
I don't have the figure off the top of my head, but the argument is an accurate one. The NFL requires a certain number of hotel rooms within a particular driving distance. And our problem is, even if you include Niagara Falls and then you add what's in southern Ontario and then you include Rochester, we still don't have enough hotel rooms and what would be considered conference space that they would use also during the week, Super Bowl week. It's just we're not large enough. I mean, it's something that we're just because of the size of our community, we just don't have enough for what the NFL requires. And if you actually, I've seen the requirements to bid on a Super Bowl. They also prefer that you have a certain number of golf courses that are set aside so that they can wine and dine their sponsors on golfing events during the week up to the Super Bowl. Well, nobody's golfing in Buffalo in late January and February. So it is an issue. That's not to say that we don't have a great community that can support an NFL team. But just like Kansas City and Cincinnati aren't getting Super Bowls, Buffalo's probably not getting a Super Bowl, not just because of the stadium issues, but because we just don't have enough of what the extra business things that the NFL wants, starting with the number of hotel rooms within a very short drive. I'm not talking about, they don't want to drive an hour. They want, okay, if we're going to put up our sponsors, if we're going to put up our media, because we get media for all over the world, they get thousands of media credentials that are passed out for the Super Bowl. You got to have it within a certain length from where the facility is going to be, and we just don't have that. And we've talked about it. I talked it over with our Visit Buffalo Niagara team. We talked over with the Bills. And everyone's response is just probably not going to happen. We might be able to get, and I know the Bills are going for the NFL draft.
Right.
But a lot of that is because
that was very successful
in Green Bay.
Right.
But part of it is, even though there's a big number of people that attend it, the vast majority of those people who attend it are locals who drive in and out.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to have, there's 100,000 people, or let's say they get 80,000 people. So that's a lot of people for an event. However, we know we can get 80,000 people in and out of Orchard Park, because most of them are driving there for a football game.
Right.
So you can do it if the people are coming in within an hour's drive or something. If you had to get 80,000 people in and out of an event from outside of the area into our area, we couldn't host that. We're not large enough.
Now, back to the stadium. Personally, I wanted a dome, and B, I wanted it to be in the city. I didn't get either of those requests, and it is what it is. But the stadium is going along, supposed to be open for the beginning of the next season, but not fully done by the beginning of the next season. Is this just semantics? I can't tell if this is being overblown or understated, or just it is what it is.
Well, it's not going to be completed but open is a little overblown, because if you've ever been involved in a construction project, especially a new construction project, they often talk about punch list items, like small items that need to be done, but you can get a certificate of occupancy beforehand. For example, they do the bathrooms. The bathrooms are ready, but they don't paint the wall. Okay. The bathroom's ready, they haven't painted the wall, but you get a certificate of occupancy, and they'll do the painting afterwards. That's what we're talking about when it comes to the football stadium. The stadium, the keys are expected to be turned over to New York State and then the Buffalo Bills by the end of June next year. So we're basically in a little bit more than a year out. I know the Bills want to hold a couple practice events, and when I say practice, I'm not talking about necessarily football events, but maybe a concert or two or something else to just can see how people flow in and out. Does it work like they expected it to? And then the goal is to open the stadium and have it for the first preseason game, and have Josh Allen run out with the team in preseason and regular season games for the 26th season. So I think that seems to be moving along fine. Regarding the location and the dome, Terry Pegula didn't want a dome. He told us that right during the negotiations, and it literally was one of those, if you want a dome, you got to pay for it, governments, and we already put a sufficient amount in, and we weren't about to pay for a dome that the owner didn't want. And then I preferred Buffalo. I was arguing for Buffalo. The team wanted Orchard Park. One of our problems in Buffalo is we really didn't have a shovel-ready site. The only one we really thought that could work was the old Perry projects.
Right.
But at that point, the Perry projects had already been committed to be rebuilding under the project that's going on right now. We didn't really have a shovel-ready site.
I had heard that they were basically letting the Perry projects decay, if you will, in preparation of that being the new stadium. And so I was kind of surprised that wasn't even really part of not the vocal discussion at least. And so now I'm like, all right. Yeah,
it's the Perry projects were closed for a number of reasons. one of which was they were old and unsafe. But they were working behind the scenes with Penrose Development out of New York City for the rebuilding of the Prairie projects. And now they have this wonderful project that's going on, which is going to create housing for, I think it's upwards of 500 people, hundreds of families right in that area with new housing. So we need the affordable housing. We need the housing. It was one of those things where if everyone was on the same page and said, yes, we're going to do this, we may have been able to get it done. But the owner wanted to be in Orchard Park. And now, considering he's putting in the vast majority of the money associated with the cost because they're responsible for all cost overruns, and there's a lot of them, it's one of those things where he was not willing to do that when we were proposing it in Buffalo. It worked out as it is, but it's not exactly what everybody wanted. But we're going to have a brand new stadium that's going to keep the team here for another 30 years, and that's a big victory that we can all be proud of.
Now, you said you wanted it in the city, and you live in the city now, correct?
Yes.
And you used to live in Lackawanna.
I preferred. It's been a long time since I lived in Lackawanna. But it's funny, people still know me as the Lackawanna kid, even though I'm not a kid anymore, and I haven't lived in Lackawanna in 25 plus years.
Oh, I get that. Now, do you feel that if you still lived in Lackawanna, you would want it in the South Towns as opposed to in the city?
Not necessarily. My preference was downtown because the hope was that it would bring more people into the downtown area on more nights of the year. When you do a negotiation, you set, here's what I want to accomplish. And you're not going to accomplish everything.
Right.
I wanted it downtown. Didn't get it downtown. But I got a limited amount of money from the county, $250 million. I got out of the football business, which we pay millions of dollars annually to the team to help subsidize the actual operation of the team in the old facility, and we were paying for infrastructure. I'm out of both of those, so the county no longer has any obligation with that. I wanted a project labor agreement to ensure that the vast majority of the workers would come from Western New York. We got that. We got apprenticeship standards, as well as the most important thing is it's turned out, which is the Bills were responsible for the construction manager, and they wanted that. Okay, we give them that. But if you're going to be responsible for overseeing the construction and doing the architecture, then you got to be responsible for cost overruns. Because if you're running the project, you got to be responsible for the costs associated with it. And they said, okay. Well, that provision alone saved the people of Erie County and New York State hundreds of millions of dollars. The county's putting in $250 million, the state's putting in $600 million, so $850 out of what was originally going to be like a $1.5 billion stadium. Now the stadium is easily over $2 billion. So the additional $500 million that would have been split between the parties is not. The Bills are paying for the whole thing. The Paculas are paying for the whole thing. So I didn't get everything I wanted. I would have preferred it downtown Buffalo, but we came out ahead, and that's the important thing.
Gotcha. Another Buffalo sports team, the Bandits, was it 2 weeks ago or so, won their third National Lacrosse League championship in a row. Now, those games, which, the home games are at KeyBank Center, are regularly sold out, which just, every time I hear that, it blows my mind, because that is not a small stadium, if you will, and lacrosse, in my mind, is not a big sport, and yet Buffalo comes out and overwhelmingly supports this team. Any thoughts on why that? Is it just that we're so starved for? And I don't mean to say this is a bad thing because Buffalo's great, but are we just so starved for a winner that we will gravitate to that?
I wouldn't say exactly that, though. There's a little bit that's associated with it. Everybody loves a winner. There's 19,000 plus seats in that arena, and the average lacrosse team gets less than 10,000 attending their games. But we're actually kind of in an interesting location for indoor lacrosse and the popularity of it. Not only is it popular with the locals, we are very close to the Seneca Nation, and of course, lacrosse is the national sport of the Haudenosaunee. So there's a lot of folks who come up or Seneca Nation members who go to the games, and as they call it in Canada, box lacrosse is pretty popular. So we get a lot of Canadians that come across too. And it's a good product. It's a fun product. It's not that expensive. It's not like buying a ticket and the lower sections, the 100 or 200 level sections for the Sabres, which are pretty expensive. So it's more of an inexpensive.
Not a very good product.
I wasn't going to say that. But
I know you're a
good
hockey
for a
fan.
long time.
Hockey is my number one sport, has been my whole life, and will continue to be. But man, it has been painful these past 10 years.
Oh yeah, I mean it's look. I'm a level 4 USA hockey coach. I coached hockey for a long time. I saw things, not so much in the last year, but beforehand, where these guys were making just basic mistakes. And I'm like, I'd be mad if one of my peewees or bantams did that. Not angry, but like, oh, I got to do a better job of coaching them. When you see an NHL player do that, it's like, what is going on? Yeah, the Sabres have been a problem. I do think, personally, after seeing the team and what they've done, they are headed in the right road. They just hired Kelkalainen as a special assistant, and he's very respected, former GM of Columbus. And I think if they can figure out their goaltending, get Owen Power, someone to help him on defense. He's certainly not a defensive stalwart, even though he's a very exceptional offensive player on defense. They're going to be okay. I hope they can compete for the playoffs next year. They should. The only problem is they're in a really tough division, and that have a lot of good teams. But the time is now. The Sabres have to get to the playoffs after a lot of poor years.
Special assistant, is that like GM in waiting? Are we just waiting for Kevin Adams to make another top 3 reference? Because I can't tell you how much I could not comprehend the fact that he still had a job the next day.
That was not a good thing for him to say. One thing when you're in the business and dealing with the public, you have to seriously consider some of the stuff you say, and even if it's joking, it can be taken out of hand. I've done it myself. I'll respond to a question and I'll say something which, when in response to the question, sounds appropriate, but if they just put that line out there separately, then it sounds like you're a jerk. So you gotta, and it happened to me, and it's what you don't want to sit there and measure every word that comes out of your mouth, but in a position like that, you gotta be careful, because you can say something that maybe was tongue in cheek, but it comes out as just tone deaf.
So sometimes my sense of humor has the same bite, and I actually made a joke with you via email, and I wasn't sure if you got the joke or not. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna think I'm an ass. And
no, I got that joke, but I get it.
Similarly, a couple of years ago, when Nick Langworthy first won his election to Congress, now I've known Nick for years and years, I sent him a message, and it said something to the effect of, I hate everything you stand for, but congratulations, or what. I don't remember how I worded it, but it was something along those lines, and it was legitimately meant as a, hey, congratulations, Nick. But I don't think he. I think he just saw the I hate everything. I think he just saw the I hate everything you stand for part and ignored it. But anyway, we're hoping to get Nick on the show.
I'll give you an example
of
it. So I recently was asked by a meeting of the editorial board of the Buffalo News about issues in the town of Amherst, and were we doing things with this new park that we're doing in the town of Amherst to assist the Democrats as the elections is up this year in the town for supervisor and council member. And I said, no, this project's important on its own. And oh, by the way, we're going to wipe the Republicans off the face of the earth this fall. All that was is Paul Carr says they're going to wipe the Republicans off the face of the earth. So then I got criticized for saying I wanted to kill every Republican. I'm like, no, I was responding to a question in regards to the election this fall. It's just how it happens. And so, yeah, I'm sure Kevin walked out of that after that statement thinking, oh, my God, what did I say? Why did I do that? I don't necessarily look at Kelkalainen as GM in training or in waiting. It was a good decision by Kevin to hire him. I'm hoping it results in a better team, and if it does, then that's good for the team and it's good for the community.
Now, backing up a little bit, you have to be extra careful, I feel, because you could cure cancer, and people would find fault with that. I originally messaged you on X to get you on the show, and I waited a little bit because I wasn't sure if you maintained your own X account, because I don't think I would if I were you. Because you can post like puppies and butterflies, and the responses are just some of the most vile stuff I've ever seen in my life. People hate you with a fire that I reserve for people who have slept with my girlfriends. And I can't imagine you slept with all of their girlfriends. So what is it?
No, I slept with none of them, but I look at it as, first off, there's a group of these individuals that aren't even real. They're bots and trolls.
Right.
They're bots, and there's bot farms out there, and they'll just attack you no matter what you post. And you're right. I could cancel. I could announce I am giving personally every county resident $500 out of my own money, and someone would criticize me saying, well, I want $600 and you're not paying it out of your own money, it's coming from the county. It really doesn't matter. And I've learned that. When you get in this business, immediately there's a certain percentage of them never going to vote for you. And there's some that are going to automatically hate you because you're a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I hate Democrats, and vice versa. But there's a lot of them that aren't real. I do, with others, I'm not the only one to have access. I don't want people to think I post everything that's on my pages, but I post a lot of it. And some of it comes from my team, and I look at some of the comments every now and then, and it just gives me a chuckle, because I'm thinking, if these people are wasting this much effort, if they're real people, first off, but if they're real people wasting this much effort to constantly respond to everything I do, they need to look themselves in the mirror and say, I could be doing life better. And if they think it's bothering me, it angers me and it ruins my day, it doesn't. I just let it slide. I mean, I understand the business I'm in. I just feel bad that if they are real, they're wasting all their time and effort thinking that they're, as they say, owning me, when in fact it just kind of makes them look a little sad.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. Now, ending on a political note, the Buffalo mayoral race, currently 5 Democratic contestants, and you have thrown your weight behind one of them. You endorsed Sean Ryan fairly early on, back in January, February, right?
Well, the Erie County Democratic Committee endorsed Sean back then, which the process had to be done by February. I officially announced my endorsement this past week.
Gotcha.
I think everyone kind of assumed I was going to do it.
Sorry, I apologize. I had seen that you said something on X about, endorsing him, but I thought that was just reiterating an earlier endorsement, so I must have misunderstood.
No, the Erie County Democratic Committee did an official endorsement that was done by the zone chairs and committee members from the city of Buffalo. And all the candidates had to work for it, and some of them worked for it, others didn't. My personal endorsement came out this past week, and it's partially because I know what's happening in the city of Buffalo. I deal with it, and not only as county executive, but I'm on the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority. So I see the finances, I see the issues. I just think at this point we need some new eyes, new leadership to come in and just basically do that top-down review and sort of cleaning to some way, like I did with county government back in 2012 when I came in as county executive. It's just the city is too important to have it be in a situation where it seems to be always in financial crisis. It's not capable of plowing its streets alone during the winter. I mean, they always ask the state and the county to assist them, and we can and will when we can. But a city the size of Buffalo should be able to do that, and this has been going back years. This is not something new that's happened during the Brown administration. If you live outside in the suburbs, you live in the north towns or the eastern portion of the city of Buffalo, and you cross the line in the Cheektowaga or Tonawanda, you'll find bare pavement. In the city, you'll see often a road that's not plowed. I just think it's time for a change to move forward. And I know Sean Ryan's experience and his knowledge. I've worked with him in the past, and I feel he'd be a breath of fresh air that's needed for the city of Buffalo. City I care about not only as county executive, but because I'm a resident, and I choose to live in the city of Buffalo. I just hope it's done better in the future.
Now, I would imagine, of course, that your endorsement will help to a degree in the primary itself, but come November, I also imagine that the other side will attempt to use that against Sean and say, Mark Polenkar's hand-picked boy, or I can't imagine that if they use that phrase, so help me God. But I imagine that they will attempt to use you against him, correct?
Well, it depends. Listen, if I was very unpopular in the city of Buffalo, then it would probably make sense for them to do that. based on the polling numbers I've seen, I don't think I'm very unpopular in the city of Buffalo. And you have to remember, the city of Buffalo is not the same as Erie County, just like Erie County is not the same as Western New York. Which, going back to the issue on the social media attacks, we've actually, because we have, if people are real, we know they're real. We can see where they live, and some of the people who attack me viciously all the time don't even live in Erie County. We can see if, okay, that's a real person, they live in Cattaraugus County. That's a real person, they live in Orleans County. So it's kind of funny that when people think, oh, he's not that popular because you look at social media, I think I'm actually pretty popular in the city, and whether an endorsement makes a difference in a mayoral race is always questionable, but I thought it was important to get out there. And if they want to criticize Sean through me, well, so be it. I don't think it would be a very winning argument.
All right. Mark, anything you wanted to mention while I got you?
No, I just appreciate the time and effort, and certainly thank the public for the support through the years. I'm not going anywhere. It's maybe my last term, but as we said earlier, I still got 2.5 years, and I'm going to continue to work, get that stadium done on time, continue to work on our ErieNet project to bring high-speed internet broadband all across the county, as well as the things that we're doing on health and human services, and continuing to fight for our community against what I disagree with that's happening in Washington, D.C., and I just appreciate everyone's support as I go about and do that.
Mark, I know you're a very busy guy, but I would not hate doing this on occasion, every couple months or something.
Every couple months might be tough, but I could definitely do it a couple times a year. So if you ever want to talk again, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll be glad to discuss.
All right. Mark, Poland Cars, I appreciate you, my friend.
All right. My pleasure, Scott. Take care.
You too. All right, since I couldn't get Mark to name a favorite band and thereby alienate all the other bands in Western New York, why not play one of my favorites? This is an oldie but a goodie. It's Gangsta Killed the Radio Star by Lower Town Trio here on All West New York Radio. Drew McGrath when we come back. listening to All Western New York Radio. Get your news from us. Go to subscribe.allwnynews.com and sign up for our daily update. And joining us in studio today, again, Andrew McGrath, here to talk about sports. Drew, what's going on, man?
Not much. Long weekend, basically.
Yeah. So Drew and I went to the Niagara Falls Americans' first home game of the season on Friday. And then Drew went again on Sunday. I couldn't go, but as sponsors of the Americans, All Western New York Radio has 2 tickets per game. So sometimes I'm going to go with Drew, sometimes Drew's going to go without me, and sometimes I'm probably going to go without Drew. But Friday night's game was a lot of fun. First game of the season. We ended up, through a series of circumstances, ended up with VIP seats that we weren't originally supposed to have, but nice view from the VIP seats.
Yeah, it was a nice view. Yeah, it was weird though. So like some of the parts of like certain plays, like we really couldn't see though because of those big black poles.
Right.
Yeah. So other than that, it was fine.
But the VIP seats at the Americans game, basically right behind home plate. So we got to see pretty much everything. And there was a lot going on. So obviously there's the game. But then I feel like in between almost every inning there was some sort of a skit or a musical number or whatever. There were kids singing. The Niagara Falls High School band played. There were some girls with pom-poms. Like really,
I think it was Grand Island's dance team or something like that.
They really seemed to go out of their way to make it a family experience, and it was very cool.
Yeah, it was we went to opening day last year, right? The home opener or whatever. Yeah, and I thought this home opener was better than last year's.
I agree.
So,
well, obviously last year was kind of their first year.
Yeah.
Not really, but kind of their first year, and so they learned some things from that, and they did some changes. And, overall a very good time. The kids singing, there was one group of kids, they were like kindergartners or something. They were amazing. Mm-hmm. And then there was another group of kids that were maybe in like 3rd, 4th grade.
I think so, yeah.
Not quite as amazing.
No.
The high school band was pretty decent.
Yeah, and they were playing some good music, too.
They really were. So that was pretty cool. And then the game itself...
kind of lackluster, but,
So, from what we understand, sitting in front of us was a guy whose son was on the team, and he had said to us that, like, they've only been playing together for a few days. So, obviously, they need to, get their teamwork going. But some of those throws were just...
Yeah, so he said everybody got here from their respective college teams June 1st.
Right. Which was only basically a few days
and then
before
they had
the first game was on the 4th.
Yeah, so they had the one game, so they had 2 days of practice, and then, like, a game, and then probably, like, a travel day with a late practice, and then that game Friday.
Right.
So,
but it was a cool gig. $10 a ticket, basically, for normal seats, $15 for VIPs. Now, we've got the season tickets, so we don't have to worry about that. We just show up with our tickets. But... for $10, man, it's kind of hard to beat. And then, to top it off, I got the big-ass nachos.
Yes.
So, I don't remember what... It's some sort of deluxe nachos. And it says it comes in like a helmet. Well, I'm thinking like the old school, like Dairy Queen ice cream helmets.
Yeah, the small helmet. Right.
But no, this was like a regular-size helmet. It fits on my head. Absolutely filled with nachos and then doused in nacho cheese and some sort of a chili sauce or whatever. It was great at the time, but I did not finish it. Also, I paid for it later. So I paid for it twice. It was $14 when I first bought it, which honestly, the hat by itself is $10. So it's basically $4 for more nachos than I could possibly eat.
Yeah.
And then I did, again, pay for it a few hours later.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to happen with nachos.
Yeah, and... honestly, the prices, though, when you look at them and everything like that, they're not really that bad, except for the one that's kind of crazy is the pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $2.50, $3 for a slice. But, like, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game, so it's like...
I feel like that's really not bad for, a baseball game. You go to Coca-Cola Field, Salem Field, or, you go to Highmark Stadium, or even Key Bank Center. You're paying, $5-6 for a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
And it's not as good. This was Sammy's Pizza. Mm. You don't like Sammy's Pizza?
I'm not a fan.
Really? All right. I kind of grew up on Sammy's Pizza, but among other Niagara Falls pizzas. Niagara Falls, home of several different amazing pizzas. So then
that kind of is the same thing with Western New York as a whole. Like,
true, no doubt. So then Saturday I had other things to do. So you went to the game with our buddy DeMario
on Sunday.
On Sunday,
yeah.
And I wasn't there. I know you guys ended up kind of having to leave early because it rained, and you're like made out of sugar or whatever. You're afraid you're going to melt. I get that.
I was fine. It was just like he didn't have. So the only way we could actually get there was like we had to get there at like 2:45 because that was how our ride was.
Right.
Yeah. So then we just hung out until 3, and then the game started at 4:05.
Right.
So yeah, and then I think the rain started coming in around like about like 5:15ish, and then it was like all right. And then it ended up actually pouring pretty good. So
how did the team look though? I mean, compared to Friday's game.
It's still sloppy.
Yeah.
Well,
they still got 40-some games to go to get it right.
Yeah, the other team looked horrible though.
Really,
Jamestown.
The Jamestown
bad.
Tarp Skunks. The teams in this league have some really interesting names.
Yeah, and so I was looking at the full box score. They had like 8 errors, Jamestown, and. Yeah, it was a lot of walks, and so it wasn't a very well played game.
So the Jamestown Tarp Skunks, there's the Niagara Falls Americans. That's a fairly normal. The Auburn Doubledays, all right, kind of cool. Elmira Pioneers.
So our Auburn Doubledays, there was somebody that's in. I forgot the name of the guy, but he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. His last name is Doubleday.
Right. We got the Batavia Muck Dogs. That's another very interesting name.
They were affiliated with the Philadelphia Phillies at one time. I don't know if they still are.
Right. And then the Niagara Ironbacks. I have no idea what an Ironback is, but the Niagara Ironbacks, they play in St. Catharines. So it's kind of like the Niagara Falls, St. Catharines team.
The Canada version of,
And so now 4 games in, we're 4-0.
Yeah.
I mean the Americans are 4-0.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like later in the year, obviously, I think probably like within the next like week or so, they'll probably be like be able to have more practices and everything like that, clean up a lot of the issues. And then I guess there was the head coach of the team won a championship with the team, it's kind of similar with I think just in a different league last year. They won the championship, so seems like he has a pedigree that he's won like 3 different championships with that other team.
Right.
So, yeah.
And he's still coaching that other team.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's coaching us and the Buffalo
Dynamite or something like that.
I don't remember. But yeah, coaching a team in Buffalo, and it did. So I mean, and like. He also sells insurance. Like he's not even like a full-time coach. So it's kind of interesting to see, how this level of baseball.
And
works.
one of the assistant coaches, his name is Will Cordero. He was actually a professional baseball player for the Montreal Expos. He played for like 5 or 6 teams total.
Right.
So yeah.
Now, Cordero is the other coach that was added on Friday, correct?
Yes.
So they had a coaching staff for Wednesday's game, the opening game of the season, and then Friday they're like, oh, look, we have new coaches. And I don't really know what happened, but obviously that's not a thing that normally happens.
Yeah,
you don't normally change your coaching staff out after one game.
I think what it was is the other coaches were just
placeholders?
Yeah, because I think there might have been where they had obligations where they couldn't get until the Friday game.
Huh.
So.
And then, of course, you go out and do anything in Western New York, you're going to run into people you know. We ran into, or I specifically at least, ran into Niagara Falls Mayor Bob Rustino and talked to him. He's going to come on the show. Not sure exactly when. I got to call his secretary and get all that set up. But that'll be fun. We'll get Bob in here.
Yeah. So wonder what that conversation
Don't do that. Why would you do that?
Wonder what that conversation will be about.
Drew is tapping on the desk in front of his microphone, as if the microphone doesn't pick up every little noise.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Yeah. All right, so that's baseball.
Yeah.
The Bisons continue to do whatever it is the Bisons are doing, and to be honest, between you and I can't tell what it is. They're winning some games. They're losing some really badly. They lost one 18-0 to Syracuse last week.
Yeah.
18-0.
Yeah. And then, the Yankees Red Sox played this weekend. Red Sox won 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So
that's like the Evil Empire and the Junior Evil Empire.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. On the football front, the James Cook thing continues to be interesting. I read something about it either yesterday or this morning. I don't remember which because the days blend. That basically said like things are not looking better at all.
I think it's stalled. Talks at least. I don't think anything's going to happen this year. But we'll see what happens because tomorrow through Thursday is mandatory minicamp.
Right.
So, and if he doesn't show up, it's $50,000 a day fine. So
we'll see what happens. I don't know.
I think he might report, but not say he's going to do something, just so this way he doesn't get fined the $50K each day.
Right. I don't know. I'm sure so I don't get fined.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. You know, we talked about that relatively extensively last week, but I did see an interesting take on it that basically blames Allen because his contract is so much that they can't afford to pay other players, and I'm just not buying that.
So I guess if you look at the percentage-wise, it is at the moment, but the way how contracts are going and the way the salary cap is expanding every year and everything like that, his contract in the next, 2-3 years is probably going to be, cheap.
Right.
So it's just trying to weather this storm that we got for the next couple of years. But yeah,
I don't know. So Drew, Friday night I went to the casino late at night, and now Friday there was a concert. We talked about this last week. There was a Buddy Guy concert, and I was thinking about going to that concert. I did not end up going. And now, from the people that I talked to that had gone, it was a great show. But based on the interactions that I had at the casino late Friday night, I'm kind of glad that I didn't go because I ran into some of the most self-absorbed, stupid, horrible people that I have ever run into at the casino. Now, I don't go to the casino every day, but I go at least once a week, sometimes a couple times a week, and typically run into amazing people. However, I have noticed lately that I must have an invisible sign on me that says, please talk to me. Because when I go to the casino, I want to have a beer, I want to have a cigarette, and I want to play Keno or poker or whatever. I just want to play my game and kind of let the world wash away from me. But lately, every time I go, whoever's sitting next to me decides that they absolutely need to tell me their life story. I hear about their dad. I hear about, the time they were arrested. And they were all arrested, by the way. And it's just every time I go to the casino lately, I end up sitting next to somebody who just wants to talk forever. Same happened when I went Friday night. So I was sitting next to this guy, Mark, maybe, Mike. I don't know. It's something that started with an M. He's from Pittsburgh, and he had never been to the Falls before. And he's going on and on about, he's 53 years old. He's never been to the Falls. He's having a great time, blah, blah, blah. But his buddy had gotten kicked out of the casino for such and such. Now, it's fairly difficult to get kicked out of the casino.
Yeah, you either got to steal or physically get in a physical altercation.
Well, it was the latter. It was the physical altercation. So his buddy got kicked out of the casino, was back at their hotel, and his buddy called him and wanted him to come back to the hotel. Now, my new best friend, Mark, handed me the phone, and he's like, talk to my friend, and his friend is like, can you get him back to this hotel? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I give the phone back. I'm like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out the front door. You're going to turn left. You walk 2 blocks, and you're there. Basically, he was staying at the Wyndham on the corner of 4th and Niagara Falls. What is that? Rainbow Boulevard.
Yeah.
It is literally 2 blocks, door to door.
Yeah, it's like a 3-minute walk.
Yeah. Well, I told him it was 5, right?
First.
No, right. So there's a guy sitting on the other side of him who's like, oh, you don't want to walk, you'll get mugged. And so I'm like, no, he won't. And he's like, oh, yeah, he will. He's like, there's all the crime out there. And I'm like, really, there's not. I was like, when you walk out the door, there will probably be two people who will, like, try to hit you up for money. And then the other guy is like, and if you don't have it, they'll stab you. And I'm like, no, they won't. So he's just going on and on about what a cesspool of crime Niagara Falls is. And I said to him, I was like, where are you from? And he's like, Cattaraugus. And I'm like, well, listen, I have lived here my whole life. I was like, I assure you that is not what happens here.
Right. And for the casino being here and everything like that, which one of the main concerns
was crime, sure. Yeah, going back 30 years or whatever before they opened.
I think it was it's been like 25 years almost now.
Before they opened, crime was a concern.
There's very, very little. Like, I think maybe one thing happens.
Not that there's none, but there is very little considering. Now, there is
one kind of significant thing happens maybe once a year, maybe.
Right.
That's about it.
There's a lot of panhandling, but what are you going to do?
Right.
For the most part, I have found that the people that are panhandling are very respectful. They say, hey, buddy, I'm starving to death and I have 4 kids. Can you give me $10 so I can get a sandwich or whatever? And I just always tell them the same thing. Sorry, I don't have any money. If I'm going in, I say, sorry, I need the money to gamble. And if I'm coming out, I say, sorry, they took it all. And usually that's true, by the way. But yeah, and then they're like, oh, okay. Every once in a while, we run into one that, doesn't like your answer and they'll call you names or whatever. But that's about the word.
Or they'll keep on asking you. That's
I have never had a physical confrontation.
No.
Near the casino.
No.
And I've never seen anyone get mugged. I've never seen anyone get shot.
No.
I've definitely never seen anyone get stabbed.
No.
But I got kind of angry with this dude because I'm like, this poor guy's here from Pittsburgh and he's going to go home and he's going to say, oh, I had fun, but it's not safe there.
Right.
Because some guy from Cattaraugus County who probably commits crimes with sheep decided to tell him that it wasn't safe here. I don't know. So I was a little upset about that. But that was just me. Usually have a great time at the casino. Lately, though, people do definitely want to talk to me, and I try to make that happen as little as possible. The bartender that was working Friday night suggested that maybe I should get a shirt made that says "Don't talk to me," and I'm like, but I feel like that would backfire because then they'd talk to me about my shirt. I don't know.
Yeah, plus people don't read signs and shirts and stuff like that.
Right.
Bumper stickers. They don't read it.
Yeah.
People don't read it anymore.
I don't know.
They just read to read instead of actually obtaining information. So,
yeah. I don't know. So that was my Friday night. Then Saturday, did a bunch of yard work. Sunday we had some people over. We played game night. You ever play Michigan Rummy?
No.
I was unfamiliar with it until I started dating my wife. But it's a thing that she likes to do. You put pennies in a pot, and if you get a certain hand, you take the pennies out.
Oh, you were telling me about it. Yeah.
It's not an unfun game, but it's unique. We have a lot of other games that I would prefer to play, but happy wife, happy life.
Yeah,
so.
no, I've just played regular Rummy or Gin.
Yeah.
Rummy, yeah.
While we were doing that, or in between games or something, I don't remember, I was having a conversation with a couple friends of hers, and they were saying that it was on Friday, somebody was found dead sitting next to the canal. Like they think that they had a heart attack or something. Maybe this was Saturday. Anyway, one day somebody was found dead sitting next. They think that they had a heart attack and sat down and then just died. And then another day somebody jumped into the canal. And then just earlier today, I got a press release from Lockport Police Department. Another person jumped into the canal and was found dead. So I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's going on in Lockport.
Niagara County as a whole, mental health concerns.
Oh, without a doubt,
are a risk.
We had a news.
They've been higher than they've ever been in years.
We had a news story the other day about the town of Tonawanda police were called to a location because somebody had a gun, and I don't know if he was threatening to. A lot of times these police reports are sketchy on purpose. They don't like to give out information for, honestly, very good reasons. So I can't tell if he was threatening to harm himself or he was threatening to harm other people. But they showed up, eventually talked him into, putting his gun down, and then took him to ECMC's psychiatric unit. It does seem as though the world is, just crazy and getting crazier.
Yeah, I heard that because somebody told me from the mission that there's a lot of mental health that's being coming up that it's been crazy in Niagara County.
Right.
Just as a whole throughout society, but like Niagara County, it's like numbers are like record highs that it's ever been. So
Drew works at a homeless shelter, by the way. He helps to input the people that show up that need places. And we've talked on the show before about the fact that, while it's a good job, it's not the job you want, and you've been looking for a job.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your last job hunting experience?
No.
Okay. Never mind then.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is
the only thing I'll say,
a law that you cannot mislead people in a job posting.
That's all I was saying. Like, and Indeed should be able to cross-reference these postings and make sure they're actually 100% legit.
But not just Indeed. I mean,
right.
I'm not a huge fan of laws for the sake of laws, but it really should be illegal to get someone to apply for a job, and then once they do and come in for an interview for said job, you go, oh, well, it's really more like this. Like, oh, we've got a job for, general manager of a Fortune 500 company. It pays $160,000 a year. And then you get there and they're like, well, it's actually more like assistant manager of the janitorial department in this store. And it's not $160,000 a year for you. That's what everybody combined makes. You make about $10. And somehow or another, that's considered okay. Now, we as a society could, do something to prevent it, but I really do think that there should be some sort of a law that, makes that illegal.
Yeah, there should be some sort of safeguard protections.
Well, you can't bait and switch on a store, right? Like, you can't have an ad in the newspaper or, whatever that says, we've got the new PS5 for $100, and then you get there and it's actually the PS4 and it's $300. That is illegal.
That's false advertisement.
Right. But for some reason, their false advertisement when it comes to jobs is okay. And then so many jobs, and this isn't necessarily from Drew's experience, but I have known so many job postings. They post the job with no intention of filling it because they have to for some reason or another, because maybe they got a grant or a loan or something, and part of the grant or loan requires them to hire for positions, but they have no intention of actually hiring, so they post the job, and then when you get there, you're like, we're not really hiring for this. Or, you interview, and then they call you 3 weeks later, and they're like, we've decided not to fill it. And it's like, well, thanks for wasting my time.
Right.
Your time, not just yours, but everybody's time has a certain amount of value. And I feel like if you were going to have a job interview and bring somebody in for a position that either doesn't exist or isn't the job that you said it was, there should be some sort of a penalty payable directly to the person whose time you wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like, it happened. It is what it is. But at the same point, though, it's like it seems like these companies are saying they're hiring, but they're not really hiring. They're just taking applications and trying to get we'll keep your information in our database for 6 months.
It's the whole nobody wants to work anymore thing, right?
Right.
Going back to the casino, I know that
they're short-staffed all the time.
They're short-staffed in every department, all over the place, all the time, and they say they're hiring, but I almost never see new people. So clearly, they're not going out of their way to hire.
And when they do bring in people don't want to work there because the pay is horrible, and also there's all these conditions and rules and everything, and it's just like.
I mean, obviously, every job comes with conditions and rules, and everybody would like to make more than whatever they're making. My bigger problem, rather than the turnover I get to an extent.
Yeah.
But the turnover is almost exclusively with the new people. People that have been there stay there. So there must be something good about it, right? But my big gripe is that they know they need help, and they slow walk that process as much as human. You know, we've both known people that have been hired at the casino, and the process of getting hired, like, you need a letter signed by the Pope. You need to have a patch of grass from Highmark Stadium. It is nearly impossiple to get a job.
Yeah, you need a Purple Heart from a president.
Right? Yeah, like it is very difficult to actually get.
And then and then just the time and paperwork that you got to go through and everything, and then the time process that paperwork takes to process and everything.
Look, some of that I do understand. Like,
sure,
because it's a casino, there are different rules and things that they do have to follow from the state. You know, if you're a felon convicted of,
theft, obviously, or burglary,
the casino's not going to want you.
Right.
So I get that there is, part of that, but I don't know. It just seems more egregious to me.
Right, and it seems like the process is so elongated time wise.
Right.
It's just like, wow. It's just like, and then all that time that you're doing this and you're going through this process, and then by the time you start and you're going through the job and everything like that, and then when you're figuring out, the hours that you got to work, the days you got to work, and the pay. All of that, like, with everything you've already gone through, like, it's like a lot of. I get why there's that turnover, right? There is,
right?
So
I don't know. So that's that. Drew, is it your turn to ask a question or mine?
No, I did the questions last week.
All right.
Remember, we were discussing the Happy Gilmore and the
right.
sports
I
movie?
thought so. So I do have a question in mind. All right, so. Let me walk you through my question process. My first thought was, if there were an event in something that happened in Buffalo sports history that you could change, what event would that be? Then it occurred to me that everyone would pick one of two. Most people would pick one of two. So you're either changing wide right or no goal. Those are the two big ones, right?
I think so, yeah.
And now I'm pretty sure I know your answer. And I do think that most people in Western New York would pick wide right. But I'm going to ask you anyway, mainly because I want to have the discussion, and I really want to get input from people on X and BlueSky and Facebook and et cetera. So if you could pick one event in Buffalo history, and it doesn't have to be wide right or no goal, but I'm fairly certain those are the two that most people are going to, like, maybe it's home run throwback. Maybe it's, who knows? For some reason, maybe you were at that game against Tennessee and that event, would have changed your life or whatever. But one Buffalo sporting event that you can change the outcome of it's a single play, not just a game, but a single play, what would it be?
I would say our AFC Championship game this past year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why so? Walk me through it.
Okay, so
and what play? Like
the tush push play that we had, that the final one that got stopped.
That quote unquote got stopped.
Yeah, I actually thought it was short.
Yeah,
I don't think from the angle we had and the angles that they really tried to show us, it didn't look like it. It was a possibility he got it. It was kind of like that coin toss 50-50.
Right.
Based off of whatever they called on the field was going to stand no
now,
matter
similarly,
what.
we could go 2 years ago and we pooched that kick instead of kicking it deep.
Right.
That's another one, I suppose.
Yeah. And so for me, why? Because earlier in that game, Josh Allen did a roll, basically a quarterback sweep with a lineman pulling in front of him.
Right.
He got one was 6 yards, and I think the other one was either like 11 or 15 yards. So when we went to do that, they've already stopped it twice previously.
Right.
They couldn't stop that play. And when we beat them in the regular season, it was kind of like one of those things, too, where Allen kind of did his own thing with blockers in front of him and scored that huge touchdown, which basically got him the MVP.
So for you, it's that over wide right.
Yeah, because this was our the one real team that we had though that wasn't expected.
All right,
where we were starting to get really good, and then we had that great year. We had the great defense. We had the K-gun offense. So it was like, it was like Buffalo was like should have won that game.
Gotcha.
And Buffalo was the favorite going into that game.
Right.
So,
all right. So most of you who have listened to the show for an episode or longer know that I am a hockey fan. And Drew, of course, knows that I am a hockey fan, more so than football. Now, I love football, but I prefer hockey. Hockey is what I grew up on.
I figured you would pick hockey. I'm waiting to hear what it would be.
So here's the thing, though. For me, no goal was huge. However, I will allow no goal to stand, but I want to fix wide right. Believe it or not, I'm picking wide right over no goal, and here's my thinking.
Wow, okay.
One, so the other plays that we've mentioned, no goal, your tush push, if those plays are changed, we still haven't won anything. If wide right goes through those uprights, we won the Super Bowl. And we have that, and it's banked. And who knows what happens after that? Really, who knows what happens to the Bills after that? Maybe we go on to win 4 in a row instead of lose 4 in a row. Maybe it changes the perception that people have of the city of Buffalo. Maybe it really changes our sports identity. Who knows?
Yeah.
But what I do know is that at 50 years old, with the exception of the Bandits and the Bisons, we have not won a championship.
No.
And now,
since the 60s when the Bills, right?
That's before
I think
me.
It was like 65.
In my 53 years, we have not won a championship.
Right.
And at least that would give us one. And then a lot of the shit that people talk about Buffalo, they just couldn't say anymore. It would make it moot. Now, I don't know that the city of Buffalo or Western New York would be respected, but at least it takes away that one bit of ammo, and we can at least have Super Bowl 25 champion hats and T-shirts and whatever. So even though for me, I'm a hockey fan and I really want to see the Sabres do good, if I had to pick one, it would be wide right, because even if that no goal was called no goal,
there would have been a Game 7.
Well, that game wouldn't have been over. Like we would still have to score.
Right.
And,
right. And that was game. That was game 6. So we would have to win that game.
Right. Exactly.
And then
that guarantees nothing.
Yeah.
So my thought process is that wide right. If we switch that, we're guaranteed a championship trophy of some sort.
Okay, I'm actually going to name a hockey one.
All right.
Well, it's not really one game or one play. To me, I thought we wasted a huge opportunity when that year when we won like the President's Cup, where we had the most points, where we had like Briere and Drury and Vanek and all that.
And then we let them all go.
We retained Vanek, and like let Briere go and Drury go. And, I thought that was a wasted opportunity.
I would not disagree with that.
And I thought for that team and the franchise and everything like that, except for the times when we had Hasek as the goalie and everything like that, that was probably, to me, our best chance of actually winning it. Because we had good offense, we had good defense, and we had good goaltending. So it was like a complete
and it was fun to watch. That was a team that, no matter what the score was or how much time was left, you felt like we still had a chance. Like, we're down 4-1 with 3 minutes to go in the third. It's okay. We still have a chance.
Right, or we're up by 1 goal, and then all of a sudden we're now up by like 4.
Right,
and it's
that was a very fun team to watch.
Yeah, so I thought that was probably like the one chance. Like if that curse of Buffalo was going to be, that would have been it.
So what say you, listeners? What would you change? What one play would you change in Buffalo sports history? Maybe it's wide right. Maybe it's no goal. Maybe it's home run throwback. Maybe it's the tush push that he's talking about.
The 13-second game.
Maybe it's the kick. That's what I was talking about. Maybe it's the kick from that 13-second game. What one thing would you change to make it go in our favor, and why? Let us know on our socials. We're on Facebook. We're on X. We're on BlueSky. We're on YouTube. I think that's it. We're on Instagram too. We're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're all over the streets like your favorite sneaker. But for today, we're out of here because Drew and I have got to part ways because I've got Karma Queen coming up. But first, a track from the archive. This is Slow By Still from a rock band from the early 2000s called Damiera from Buffalo. You're listening to All Western New York Radio. We'll be right back. You're listening to All Western New York Radio. Get your news from us. Go to subscribe.allwnynews.com and sign up for our daily update.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, the role of Scott Leffler will be played by that guy from the movie you saw last week.
All right, joining me in studio today, we've got the 5 members of Karma Queen, and they are a indie band out of Buffalo. And I say that because, like, everybody likes to have, like, what kind of a band are you? And I know that there's been some discussion about what kind of a band are you? But, like, I feel like you are an indie band. What do you guys feel like?
So I think we coined a term called Hazy IPA, which stands for Indie Pop and Alternative. So we've been running with that for a little bit.
All right, what's the ABV on that?
That's to be determined.
100%.
Wow. All right.
Lots of drinkability.
That's going to lead to a short show. All right. So for those of you listening at home, we've got 5 members. We're going to start with Evan Kaminsky.
Hello.
Evan is on the red microphone.
Red mic.
And Evan, what do you bring to the band?
What do I bring to the band? Hopefully a little bit of jazz, I think, is probably, and some abstractness, but not too much.
Jazz and abstractness.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike Militello?
Yeah, Mike, Blue Mike here. Thanks for listening to what I have to say, what I do. I bring to the band bass. And, I'll step in wherever I can.
And sarcasm.
Yeah. You have Evan also does the drums and does the sax and bass. So we share some responsibilities.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm Annie. I play the 8-string guitar, and I guess I bring to the band a lot of inspiration from progressive metal bands that I enjoy, as well
Why
as
so many strings?
pop
I
artists.
feel like that's too many strings for a guitar.
One of my favorite guitarists ever also plays an 8-string guitar, so that inspired me to kind of mix up my playing and composing style by adding.
And who is your favorite guitarist ever?
Tosin Abasi from Animals as Leaders.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
He's really great stuff. A lot of jazz and classical inspiration
right.
goes into his playing, and then
Buddy Guy played the Seneca Niagara Casino last Friday. Yeah, last Friday. And Eric Clapton is called Buddy Guy the best guitar player ever. Now, Buddy Guy is 89 years old, and I did not get to go to the show, but I wished that I had because I feel like Buddy Guy at 89 is still better than most people in their prime. So, yeah. I don't think he plays. I don't think he plays an 8-string though.
no.
I heard great things about the show. I didn't go because All Western New York sponsors the Niagara Falls Americans baseball team, and it was their first game of the season, so I went to that instead. Mark, what do you do?
So I am primarily, not primarily. So I tag team drums with Evan, and then I also play keyboards. And for me as a musician, when it comes to keys, I just like to add wherever I can to enhance the song. I'm definitely a musician who's very passionate about songs and songwriting, and so however I can to best add, whether it's on keys, adding colors to the song where needed, and then drums just holding it down and just vibing with the energy of the song is definitely what I care about most as a musician.
And Mark is the reason everybody else is tired, because we have all been here for 4 hours waiting for his arrival. But he did get here, and so now we're doing the show. We are so glad that you're here. We had to make sure not to tell any really good stories before recording, because so we've just all heard the worst stories ever. So, Kaylee, I have a feeling you probably have a lot of bad stories.
I've got some interesting stories. Weird things have happened to us before, but we'll be here all day if we talk about those. I play rhythm guitar, aka the not so good guitar, and I do vocals, and I bring a lot of attitude and some fun dance moves to the group.
Fun dance moves.
Yeah, I did a high kick on stage the other day.
So I've seen you guys play a couple times. And I don't mean to be rude in any way, shape, or form. I don't recall the fun dance move. That must have been before I got there.
Really feeling it that day.
It depends on the ABV of the IPA.
Well, it depends on the general atmosphere of the room.
Understood.
For sure. Yeah.
Now you guys started as a 3-piece, then a 4-piece, then a 3-piece, now a 5-piece. Is this it? Did you guys get the mix right?
I think this is a pretty good setup right now. We've got really like the Swiss Army moving knives pieces of Evan and Mark switching instruments all the time on stage, which is awesome.
Yeah, it does keep it interesting, and it does. It's like just enough flexibility, but not too much to be like, you don't want to be walking around with a 13-piece band or something like that.
Gotcha.
Get a little annoying.
And so we got the 2 drummers, so we got like a Ringo Starr situation where like they asked John Lennon if Ringo was the best drummer in the band, and
I'll
John
tell you,
said Ringo's not even the best drummer in the Beatles.
I'll tell you, Mark's the best drummer.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh man. There's no contest.
That Final Girl drum part, though, that's those ghost notes, though, again, like, even our producer, Ken, was just like, it's such a creative drum part, Evan.
As a fan of horror movies, I love that you guys had Final Girl as a song, because I'm like, Final Girl? That's a horror movie reference.
Final Destination, or?
Well, no, just Final Girl is she's just the the last girl survivor in it, because the last survivor is always, or the one survivor usually is a female, and that's the
kills the bad guy.
Right. Yeah. There is a new Final Destination movie, which I am really looking forward to. I love the Final Destination franchise. It's so fun and unpredictable, and it's just
Trying to cheat death, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when I originally booked you guys, when we talked about a month ago or so, you're like, yeah, because we're going to be releasing an EP on the 13th. But I see you just dropped a song the other day. Is that like a pre-release of the EP?
Yeah. Our second single. We released 2 singles from the it so far. So.
All right. So tell me what is dropped and what is yet to drop.
Yeah. So the one was Appetite. And that's more of like a straight ahead rock kind of song, and then we have Final Girl that just dropped recently, and that's, I don't know, more of like it's got a little bit of a Latin groove to it, and I can't.
You could shot that too if you truly tried.
The cover for Appetite kind of surprised me because I don't feel as though it fits the band. The cover for Appetite looks more like the cover of a metal song
with the skull, right?
Yeah,
and the dagger.
And I'm like, wait, what happened? Is this a metal song?
First of all, skulls are for everybody. Skulls were my main aesthetic for like 2 years prior. Everything that I owned was covered in skulls. So, but if I can talk just a little bit about the name Sharp Tongue and kind of what the idea was behind there. The album art is, if you can't see it, listeners, it is a skull with a dagger pushed through the top of the head, and it's coming out as a tongue. And basically the idea of Sharp Tongue was that sometimes when we share words in anger, it cuts us just as much as it hurts the person who it's directed towards. So that was kind of the...
Philosophical.
A little bit, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. So from what you guys have released, what's the reception been?
I was going to say it's people are kind of impressed, and but in a way when they present it though, that kind of almost feels a little offensive when they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't expect it to sound this good."
Dude. All right, wait. I've got a story for you, and I can tell this story because I know she's not listening. So I mentioned to everyone except for Mark, I just got married, right?
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So we have like a family text, and one member of the family was like, "Hey, thank you so much. You know, it was a great day." And another member says, "Yes, I was pleasantly surprised."
Thanks.
So they were pleasantly surprised that our wedding didn't suck. So I feel you.
Yeah. And and shout out to Outer Limits, the studio. They were the ones. Ken there was the one that recorded us, helped mix and master, and then Jay over at GCR Studio helped with
vocals. That's why they're crispy.
Vocals sound beautiful.
Yeah. So it was kind of nice to just sort of focus more on. Okay, let's just listen back to it, right? Because when we made our first LP, I guess, Projector, that was a lot of, well, more so for Annie.
A lot of DIY, we did the mixing, and we ended up, sending the mixes over to Ken for mastering, but it really takes it to another level when we have somebody else working on both the recording, the mixing, and the mastering.
Yeah. So for those of you listening that are not in the music business, I do feel like most of the listeners are going to be people from other bands. They're going to know all this anyway. But the EP is 4 songs, correct?
Ours had 3, so maybe we're breaking a rule.
I apologize. The EP is 3 songs. So we got about 10 to 11 minutes of actual music. Mm-hmm. And how long are you in studio to record 11 minutes of music?
I wasn't tracking the hours. I probably should have been, but definitely quite a bit of time. Yeah. Although I will say we came pretty well prepared, so it was kind of crazy. Like maybe a one and done, a couple punches here and there, especially too, because if you're going to spend the money, you might as well make it sound the way you want it to. Yeah.
I just asked because it has gotten easier and easier and easier to make a music recording. Literally somebody could just record something, on their laptop using a USB microphone from, in their garage, record an acoustic cover of such and such, And next thing you know, it's on CD, baby. It is really easy to get music done, but it's not as easy to get it done right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a lot of the better bands will actually go to recording studios and work with some of the incredible people that we've got doing audio engineering in Western New York. And it's a much more complex process. So I think my point was sometimes it doesn't seem that impressive when a band has a new album because anybody can do that. Because, you know, anybody can do anything. I did my own research on YouTube, for example. But, you know, just because anybody can do a version of something doesn't mean that anybody can do a good version of something.
Right.
So it is great to be able to appreciate a good product.
Mm-hmm.
And not having heard the entire EP, I'm just going to assume that it was good. Although it could have been terrible, I don't know.
Well, yeah, right.
Well, it was human-made, too. No AI, no artificial intelligence used in making of the audio. So we'll call it organic, not.
But it is cool to sometimes get somebody that's outside of the group just involved in the process because it's another set of ears.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times we would sit in the car or listen to it on the phone and then in my buds, you know, because we were all trying to figure out, okay, what's the perfect mix? And it was a learning process as we were going too, right? Like we didn't know what to change.
Well, like with any collaborative thing, it helps to get someone from outside that collaborative group for a completely new perspective because, you know, you think you're the best drummer and clearly, you know, he is. So it does help to have somebody else come in and be like, have you thought about doing it this way? Or, you know, what if you sing this part and you know, just play tambourine and never open your mouth?
Right, exactly.
Which is what happens when I try to do music.
Bring you vibe.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I've head triangle all day long. So you guys been together 3 years now? 5 years. Dude, I lost some years. There were a couple years that just didn't like. Yeah, like I really like. Frequently, when I say last year, I mean 2019. But then I learned that like there were other years on the calendar that I forgot about. So 5 years now altogether.
Yeah.
Understand.
And you play out and around. I know I've seen you at Music is Art at least once or twice, and other venues. I feel like you guys are on the festival circuit. They tend to like you. Why is that?
Good question. We definitely show up.
We're reliable.
We're reliable. Yeah. No. We really love being part of Music is Art. They're a fantastic organization. So, being part of that festival every year is definitely one of the highlights of the year. And then after playing the set, going around and listening to all the other bands, the best. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been a big Music is Art fan since way back when it was, you know, across the street from Albright in Delaware Park.
Yeah.
And then it's moved a few times, and, like, some of the moves haven't made any sense. I do really like the new venue. But one of the really cool things about Music is Art is I can catch a song from one band, and then, you know, I can hear 10 bands in an hour.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
What do you guys like to listen to?
Depends on the day. I was going to say it varies anything from Slipknot to Mac Miller and stuff in between. But it's kind of cool because being able to like listen to different music genres and different artists and styles of doing things, it sort of helps to tap into different, inspirations when we're trying to write a part out for the next song.
Let me rephrase the question or ask a completely new question on the same vein. A lot of bands find that they will play out with the same bands over and over. Who do you guys like playing with?
I love playing with the Spit Sisters. I love their music, their style. It's just very, very cool. What is that?
Yeah.
Very rock.
Spit Sisters got a lot of attention this past year. I know they won at least one award in the All West New York Awards.
Yeah.
And you are not the first band that has been in the studio that has mentioned them as a band they like to play with.
They're absolutely fantastic.
It was kind of crazy because so I used to, oh man, this is going like way back. Was playing in a 1940s jazz cover band, and Claire, the current drummer of Spit Sisters, was the drummer of this band, and her and I would play 1940s covers in like shopping malls and stuff like that for senior citizens.
That sounds ridiculously fun.
Yeah. And it was a non-paid thing, so the unions were always like all up our, butt about it because we were stealing their business. But our reward for the end of like the season playing was to a trip to Cedar Point. So we would all just hang out at Cedar Point for like a long weekend, and then
Demon Drop. Is Demon Drop still there?
Oh, that I don't know. Yeah, it's been a
Drop anymore.
No.
Yeah.
That's the last time I was at Cedar Point. It's been a few years.
Yeah, they moved it to another park
Did they?
somewhere. I'm an amusement park guy, so.
All right. Speaking of being an amusement park guy, have you noticed that Niagara Amusement Park and Splash World spells out Naps World?
Naps World?
Naps World. I feel like that's the worst name for an amusement park.
Oh my God. I want to go to there.
All right, so yeah, some people might like it, but those people aren't going to be happy there. Any big gigs coming up this year at any festivals that you guys have signed on for that we should know about?
So we're playing the Erie County Fair, which I'm very excited about. Pulling up the date right now because my brain is full of information. We're playing the Erie County Fair on August 7th, 1 to 4. So please come see us at the Slade Park stage.
How fun!
Yeah, that's going to be a blast. We've never played the fair together as a band before, so.
I do like the Erie County Fair.
It's fun.
Two of my favorite things from not just the Erie County Fair, but really any fair, is the Italian sausage sandwiches with the peppers and the onions and marinara sauce. You gotta put the spaghetti sauce or whatever on it.
Oh yeah.
And then at the Erie County Fair, there's this guy there. He's there every year, and he's got a can of like salsa seasoning, and you just add it to like so you get a can of diced tomatoes, and then you just add the salsa seasoning and you stir it up, and it's just instant salsa. And believe it or not, it's amazing. And so a few years ago, I bought a can of it and like went through it in a year. So now every year at the Erie County Fair, I have to buy a new can of salsa. You can also order it online and have it shipped to you, but it's not the same. It's
So okay, so this is something that you buy and take out. See, after you followed it up with the sausage, I'm thinking you're just eating the salsa with your fingers or something over here.
I could probably.
I guess you could. Nothing. It's all finger foods.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Now, throwing this out there, Kaylee, you and I have known each other for a while. I would say we used to work together, but I tried to do as little work as humanly possible. So we were employed by the same company. Now, I have gone on in media to do some other things, and I'm currently running All Western New York. What are you doing these days?
I work at a startup company called Fret Zealot, which I have to pitch real quick because we are a guitar education startup company. Very cool stuff. We have hardware that goes on your guitar, and it lights up to show where to put your fingers. It is very cool.
So it's like auto-tune for a guitar? It's like instead of somebody telling you to put your third finger on the second fret of the third string, it lights up. Boom. LED. So it's like Guitar Hero.
It's like Guitar Hero that helps you learn how to play guitar.
All right.
Awesome.
I could probably play Barracuda. That's about it.
I highly recommend if you struggle with musical instruments.
What was the name of it again?
It's called Fret Zealot.
Fret Zealot.
Yeah.
All right. FRETZEALOT.com.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't mind you doing plugs.
Cool.
I'm not paying you to be here. You might as well get something out of it. So that said, you still have your connections with the media.
I do.
And so I feel like that can't be bad for the band.
It's not bad. We definitely played Channel 4 a couple times.
Right.
Which has been great.
Right.
Yeah, a completely different experience. So, yeah, it's great.
All right. Anybody want to add anything to that?
I will say it was kind of cool to stand and pretend to do the weather when we were playing.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
When we do that, yeah, I'm always the one that just I'll just start wandering. So while everyone's getting stuff set up, because for the most part, we were playing with an electrical kit for the longest time, which is great because you just unfold it, smack it on the floor, and it's ready to go.
Right.
And so I would just kind of unfold it, crank it, and then I just start wandering. So while everyone's tuning,
we've actually got a couple different green screens in this office because I have to use them for work on occasion. So I've got like a big one behind you that rolls down, and then I've got like a smaller one that just goes behind me. Yeah, I've got that one too. So I have three different ones, and the one that unfolds it folds up like a. I don't know. I have to look at the YouTube directions every single time I try to fold. Like you fold it into a taco, and then I don't understand how it works, but it ends up working.
Got a real set of cheat right there.
Yeah, seriously, and it's very frustrating. I don't enjoy doing video. I definitely have a face for radio, which which makes everything work out. But I was going somewhere with that. Oh, I know where I was going. Weather. So anybody else follow this guy on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anything? He's a weather guy in Los Angeles who drops music lyrics into the weather.
Yes.
Do you know? I love this guy. Yes. He is so fun. And so that is one of my social media addictions, is that particular feed. So, anybody have a recommendation?
For social media?
Yeah. Specifically like Instagram or TikTok, or like I hate shorts, and yet at the same time I am completely addicted. Like I'll go to the bathroom and then I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on Instagram, and then like an hour later she's like, are you okay in there? And I'm like, oh, yep, sorry, I was just scrolling through Insta. So they're all looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I get it. There's like, okay, I can't remember his handle, but there's a guy on TikTok who does vintage recipes, and he's hilarious.
He does it like with the Mediterranean voice.
Yeah, I get it. He's so funny.
I do like that. Well, and then the funny thing about it is, like 9 times out of 10 they end up being delicious.
Yeah, well, we might be thinking of a different guy then, because this guy is like doing hot dog, Jello molds, and just absolutely horrifying things from.
So, but that's I feel like more often than not he ends up liking them despite not expecting to like them. But anyway,
maybe, yeah.
I like the woman who says everybody's so creative.
Oh yes,
she's my favorite.
So good.
I have so many favorites, but she's definitely one of them. Yeah. And then I watch a lot of like home improvement ones.
Yes.
That I don't have that skill. I'm never going to have that skill.
Right.
But why did I just spend an hour watching this guy wood turn a bowl? I don't have any of that equipment. I don't have any I don't but in my brain I'm like, wow, that's I don't know.
You got me. That's in my FYB too. Watching people do other work that I should be doing that time.
Yeah.
That's still in the morning. Like, oh yeah, it's Saturday. I should probably get up and do that.
I just found one recently. It's called Fuck It Friday, and it's this guy who's he does construction ones, but it's other people's work, but he makes it out like it's his own. And it's just really shoddy work. And he's like, oh, we did this in 10 minutes, got paid, got out. It's just hilarious. I don't know. There are good things about social media. However, I do fear that it's going to ruin the world.
Yeah. Huh?
Now, you guys are on all the socials.
We are.
Do you divvy that up, or is there one person in charge?
We divvy it up a little bit. So I have taken responsibility of the TikTok, and I am trying my hardest to get back into making videos for us.
The TikTok is the one that I have the most trouble with. I don't know. There's just something about my brain. My 50-year-old brain is like, no, this does not make sense.
I feel the same way sometimes, though, too. I'm just like, I don't know. I know what I want it to happen, and it's not happening yet, so I gotta look up tutorials.
Oh, yeah. That's the vibe. Yeah, so we divide and conquer the rest of it. Instagram, Facebook. So luckily Instagram cross-posts to Facebook most of the time, so usually it's two birds.
So do you also cross-post on Meta then, or not Meta, Threads then as well?
We should. We really should more. Yeah.
I don't think I got a thread yet.
Yeah.
I haven't found any traction from Threads, but I do automatic. I have it set so that it'll automatically post to. And then every once in a while I'll get a notification from Threads this person said such and such, and I'm like, I don't know that person, and I really don't care what they said.
Yeah, it's chatting into the void at this point, but it's nice. I like to lurk in other people's conversations.
Well, I have noticed that my Facebook feed is a person I know every 10 posts, and then the other 9 are either businesses or people I've never heard of.
Some sort of sponsors.
And then Facebook is you might know this person. I'm like, oh yeah, I know them, but I want nothing to do with them.
Right. Yeah, that's why we're not connected yet.
All right, believe it or not, we're actually just about out of time. Yeah, seriously. Were there things that we've got maybe I could probably get another 5 minutes in if I cut part of Mark Poloncar's interview. So, what do you have to say that's more important than Mark Poloncar's? And don't say everything. This will be on tomorrow. So yeah. So we're interviewing on June 9th. and this will air on June 10th to give people time to get excited about the June 13th drop.
Yes, and we're also having a party, a release party.
I like parties.
Yeah, you're totally invited. It's at Nietzsche's.
You see how I did that?
We're going to be playing with Orange, Jess, and Taka. And doors are at 8. Music starts at 9, and tickets are $10, 21 and up. And it's just going to be a blast. I may or may not have ordered temporary tattoos with our cover art on it. So
you're kind of cheating, though, because I don't think I've ever had a bad time at Nietzsche's. So you book a party at Nietzsche's, it's pretty much guaranteed.
You're already guaranteed a good time, even if the music is not good, which it rarely is there. So.
Unlike, for example, Good Bar, which is really hit or miss.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But yeah, I've never had a bad time at Nietzsche's. I don't know who runs your Facebook Messenger. Who have I been talking to?
Me.
That's you?
Yeah.
So when we first started talking, you were talking about the album drop on June 13th. That was my mother's birthday. My mother would be 83 years old, so I appreciate you guys having a party for my mom's birthday.
No problem.
So, I don't think she has ever been. I don't think she ever went to Nietzsche's. I don't think that she would feel very comfortable there, but that's okay. And I appreciate you inviting me to this public party that everyone is invited to.
No problem.
Now the album, when it does, or the EP, when it does drop, it's going to be Spotify, YouTube Music.
We go through DistroKid, so it's Deezer, all these sort of weird title. But yeah, primarily I always just tell people Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music.
All right. Very, very, very cool. And the name of the EP again?
It's Sharp Tongue.
It's Sharp Tongue. And you are?
I'm Kaylee.
I meant you as a collective.
Oh. Guys, it's been a long day. I need that.
And I think it's only fitting that we close tonight's show with one of Karma Queen's latest songs, Final Girl, here on All Western New York Radio. We'll see you next week. .band, you can find links to all of the stuff that they do there. Guys, I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and good luck with the new EP.
Thank you.
Bumpy with darker corners of your dreams.